Sander van Ogen, Nutrition Insight. I'm here at Vitafoods Europe 2025 with Tobin from Epax. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm really curious, you've launched a couple of things here at this show. What can you tell us about the scientific and technological breakthroughs that enabled you to develop Epax Evolve 05?
Good question. The development of Evolve, I suppose, started around 7, 8, 9 years ago. I would say it's a lot to do with the curiosity of our R&D department. They know a lot about fish oils, and of course everyone tends to focus on EPA and DHA, but at the end, if you do an analysis, the end of the chromatogram, there's very small peaks. And they looked at these and wondered what they were, and started developing analytical methods. So that was one milestone, to have the analytical methods to measure these things. They saw that they were very long chain, so longer than EPA and DHA. And then they started to think about, let's try and purify. So they had to make manufacturing processes. I think around about the same time, there was starting to come out publications which were indicating that very long chain fatty acids were lying behind some pathologies. So particularly with vision, there's some breakthrough identification of VLC for a juvenile form of blindness, for example. So then they started to understand that this was really had biological benefit and effect. And we had manufacturing patents, and the patent was the key technological breakthrough in a way, or event that then allowed us to go for full commercial production.
Awesome, really interesting. And you already mentioned like these longer chain fatty acids. So how do VLCPUFAs differ structurally but also functionally from EPA and DHA? And what kind of unique health benefits do they offer?
Yeah, in some ways they're rather similar to the traditional omega-3s. They are actually omega-3 fatty acids, but they are very long. So instead of having a 10 or 20 or 22 carbon long chain, these are 24, 26, 28, and they can go on and on. But in our fish oils, 28 is about the maximum, some 30. They are somewhat different from EPA and DHA because they're largely, EPA and DHA is largely from our diet. But we have enzyme systems that also make these very long chain fatty acids. What's very interesting is these enzyme systems become less and less effective with aging. And there's some good publications suggesting that age-related decline in vision is due to, and a component of this is due to this age-related decline in the protein. So the biology is quite complicated, but it seems there's specific areas that these fatty acids can give benefits, and that is the brain, vision, for sure, lots of VLC. The majority of VLCPUFA is in your retina, rather like DHA. It's maybe in dry eye disease, in the skin, where these long, complex fatty acids help to stop water loss, and in male fertility. And this is the area which we're very interested in at the moment.
Awesome, and you already mentioned them, but can you dive into a bit more detail what the specific health areas you see as most promising for Evolve?
Yeah, so we've actually started a study in fertility, in male fertility, so sperm quality, sperm numbers, and that has just started now. So that's a really big event for Epax to actually own and perform a clinical study. We have, as I say, we have an interest to start dry eye, so we'd be very interested to speak to collaborators or CROs about that. And we're following very closely vision. Vision is a very huge area clinically, but most of the preclinical data is in vision. After that, the brain is a very difficult area because the brain takes up fatty acids very specifically. Skin is also not an area right now. We need to focus somewhat, but the aging story is an emerging story for us. So we're following it very closely and see if we can have activities in that area. So quite a lot, actually. The answer is everything, almost.
But, more to come, I'm sure. Okay, and because these long PUFAs, very long PUFAs, are relatively new to the market. What kind of strategies are you employing to educate stakeholders in industry about their benefits?
Yeah, I mean, one thing is they are new, so people need educating, of course. So we're doing our best to try and do that. And we've been in podcasts and in X talks and making this presentation now to make the industry and scientists aware. We've written white papers, so I suppose it's an awareness campaign, you could say. And then, of course, people ask about claims. Well, the product we've developed has we make sure it has a high DHA content, so you can always affix these EFSA claims. But, of course, the clinical trials is what people ask for, so we are performing these interventional trials and encouraging researchers also to do this.
Interesting, and I'm also curious, as you mentioned, clinical research is one of those opportunities. What kind of opportunities do you foresee with Evolve now being commercially available? And how might that shape our future understanding of these still relatively unknown long-chain fatty acids?
So most of the research that's been performed today is is preclinical. It's knockout animals where they remove the protein or the DNA which removes the protein, so see the effects. We've seen the very first interventional studies where they give fish oils, but basically no one has had volumes of VLCPUFAs to give. So it's been on that, all the data lacks this causality. Is it really a cause, or is it just a bystander function that this is happening? So commercializing our oil really gives the opportunity for everybody now, academics or industry, to do these essential interventional studies. So it is somewhat of a breakthrough for the whole field, I would say. And one of the biggest excitements for me is actually opening the doors to academia, product developers, because me sitting alone in my office, the fantasy there's only so much that I can think of. So really opening up to these really creative minds and scientific minds and taking it to places that we maybe haven't thought of. So I think it's the beginning of a story, starting with the DHA, but now moving on beyond to new areas.
Awesome, I look forward to what comes out.